Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's the Political Brown Kid here. I just want to kind of bring this point up. This kind of goes back to the girl that I was talking with. This is the first girl. For anybody who wants to dig into the archives and say, you're all probably saying right now, what girl is he talking about? Well, if you've seen my channel, you're familiar with. I was kind of seeing dating two women at one point. This was introductory stage, so yeah. So the first girl backed out. She was a nice woman, nice, pretty cool. But the one thing that I did notice, and this is one thing I will say, and this was the girl that I'm talking about, the first one. The first one. She was very nice, had a very good job. She actually made more money than I did. That was the first time I've ever been in that situation. And she was pretty cool too. But the one thing I will say this, and I've noticed this with just women, period, but definitely with the sisters, and because that's all I really deal with. But you have white women that are conservative. You have a lot of white conservative women. There are a lot of, but you have a lot of white liberal. With white women, being conservative versus liberal is probably about 60-40. It could even be 70-30, but you do have a big population of white conservative women. But you have a heavy population of white liberal women. With black women, at least in my personal opinion, I could be wrong, you're probably looking at about 90% liberal women, just liberal. It seems as though the ones that I run into have the same talking points, just when it comes to liberalism. So I try not to engage too much in conversations with them because it just be a turnoff. But me and the one female, we were discussing because I was telling her, and we actually had good conversation. And the one thing, but like I said, I know when to cut it off because I don't want to kind of offend people, and you don't want to get people pissed off with you, especially early in the dating process. But we were talking about voting, and the conversation came up. She was like, "Yeah, who was I going to vote for?" Because she was, of course, all of the liberals hate Trump, and they're going to support Biden. And I said, well, I'm sitting this one out. And I'm going to be honest with y'all. I am sitting this election out. Come 2024, well, we're in 2024, but come 10 months from now, I'm sitting it out. I just cannot, in good conscience, push the button for Biden or Trump. I can't push the button for all of them. And like I say, I'm an independent. I've always been independent for at least 20, 30 years. But mostly vote Democrat. I will admit that. So, but when you look at the election, and when I told the girl I'm sitting this one out, she just got so irritated, and then proceeds to tell me the same thing everyone else loves to tell me. Well, if you don't vote, you can't complain. If you don't vote, and then I'm like, well, don't vote. And I'm like, well, not voting is a form of voting. It actually is. You not participating in an act that you don't want to participate in is you voicing an opinion one way or the other. That's like me telling somebody, giving you a choice. You have two choices. You can either punch your mama in her face or you can slap the hell out of your grandmama. Which one are you going to do? You don't have to make a choice. Not making a choice is making a choice. And for me, I just can't see that going into a booth and voting for two old dudes that should not be running for office. I have to take into effect Biden in his age and how old he will be in 4 years. And if he doesn't make it, do I feel comfortable with Kamala Harris succeeding him? And I do not. So if he wants to get another running mate, somebody that I feel comfortable with, then maybe I'll go into the voting booth and vote for him. I definitely can't see myself voting for Trump. And it's not really like a lot of his, it's some policies. It's some policies. Like I like kind of what conservatives or Republicans do as far as for businesses. Because like when you're in that realm, of course you love the tax breaks and you love the pro-business, aspect of it. But the other part of it is just horrendous. Like I can't condone what you do with Supreme Court justices. I can't condone other particular actions that you do. I just can't condone other certain societal talking points that they have, particularly as it pertains to Black people, affirmative action, and so forth, so forth. So that's why I'm not voting. But plus, Donald Trump is just very immature. He creates toxic environments. He had high turnovers in his cabinet as his appointees. One minute he hires somebody, the next minute he fires them, then he gets somebody else. He couldn't keep people in because he just kept turning people over. It was just ridiculous. And not to mention just the clownery and buffoonery that went on when he was in office. And it resonated to other quote unquote civilized individuals in Congress. They started taking on his persona because he knew that that's what the people wanted. And you still see the effects today. So that's why I can't vote for him. And so then FEMA tells me, well, if you don't vote, you don't. Yeah, I do have a right to still complain. I can still complain. And then I'm saying, I can vote for, because they're never satisfied. Because then when you make the argument, well, I'm going to write in Bernie Sanders' name, or I'm going to write in, I'm going to vote for my independent person when they run. Then they get the complaint that, well, why are you going to throw your vote away? You just throwing your vote away. You know they're not going to win. It's only between the Democrat and the Republican. So what are you telling me? So you're basically telling me that I have to either vote for a Democratic candidate or a Republican candidate because those are the only two people that are going to win. So now if I tell you that I am going to vote, but I'm going to vote for a third or fourth party, then you're not satisfied with that. So thus the voting conundrum. But I get tired of hearing these people talking about rock the vote. And if you don't vote, your vote, you don't have a right to say this or that or the third. No, well, how about these elected officials, and how about these parties? You got to hold the Democratic Party accountable to say, hey, look, why are you still supporting at 87, 88? I don't even know how old Biden is, but he looks old, and he not only does he look old, he acts old. So the thing is, why couldn't the Democratic National Committee, the DNC, whatever they're called, why couldn't they come out and say, look, we need to put forth another candidate? We really honestly have to, and we're encouraging all citizens that we're going to have a primary, and we're encouraging citizens to not just vote for the incumbent just because they're the incumbent. How come that's not occurring? How come they're just throwing their support behind the president because he's the president? So you have to make those claims. The RNC, the Republican National, I don't know what they're doing, but at least they did hold a primary. Now, the foolishness is on the people because all of the people, this is a man, he didn't even have to attend not one debate. He didn't have to attend. Look, you think about the work that he's basically running as if he was the current president. He hasn't attended not one debate. He hasn't even done really campaigns. You really haven't seen him work as hard as you've seen Nikki Haley and Tim Scott and Ramaswamy. I don't know how to say his name. Vivek. I'm going to just call you Vivek. Or Ron DeSantis. They had to work and put in work, and they still had to drop out and suspend their campaigns. Nikki's the only one hanging in. So it's just kind of like, how come people aren't really looking to say, well, maybe we shouldn't put forth this particular type of candidate. But they have to, but I understand their arms are tied by the American people. But we're playing a dangerous game, and I'm not just going to go into a voting booth and vote just because somebody wants me to vote. I'm not going to vote for, Ebola or some other disease and tell somebody I have to pick one. No, my vote is to not vote. And I encourage all other individuals to do the same. So let me know what your opinions are on this. This is the Political Brown Kid. I'm out of here.